Hi, this is Oliver, Principal of the International Macrobiotics School, and what I want to talk to you about today is taking a look at our hearts from a holistic point of view and how we can take good care of our hearts physically, emotionally, and spiritually. One of the things which has always excited me about the Oriental philosophy and medicine is how it looks at us holistically, rather than one discipline to look at the physical body, another to look at emotions, another to look at the spirit. Actually, of course, these are all connected. So that's what we're going to do right now. And starting off by having a look at on the physical level at the heart. This has been in the news a lot for the last 4 decades. Because heart disease and circulatory problems like strokes are still the biggest cause of death in the UK, USA, most Northern European countries, etc. Even though the levels of heart disease have come down somewhat historically. Up till about the 1970s, early 1980s, it was thought that food had no effect whatsoever on the heart. And if you had heart disease, well, just eat what you like. Today, that seems rather remarkable. And 1980s, research started showing that diets heavy in animal fats, meat, eggs, cheese, etc., created more arteriosclerosis, more heart disease, and more strokes of a certain kind, where some plaque breaks off from an artery, goes up to the brain, blocks part of the brain, which then dies, which then creates a stroke of small or medium or large, fatal. And very good evidence now, just an absolute wealth of scientific evidence now that eating a plant-based diet is protective of the heart. So some Western dietitians would recommend the Mediterranean diet for taking care of the heart, also of the brain, which I'm going to talk about in a separate lecture, how to take care of our brains, which feels pretty important. They're saying the Mediterranean diet, great for the heart and also for the brain. Mediterranean diet for the heart, plant-based, grains, beans, lots of vegetables, especially green vegetables, but all vegetables are great, seeds, nuts, fruits, etc. With a little bit of seafood, a little bit of dairy, and very little or no red meat. If one does eat it, just in really small quantities occasionally. That is the Mediterranean diet, being shown over and over again to greatly reduce the chances of developing coronary heart disease. And there's a very strong parallel with what the UK NHS now suggests, that we eat 1/3 complex carbohydrate from grains, etc., 1/3 fruit and vegetables, possibly some dairy or alternatives. It's now admitting that dairy is not necessary for health and life. Very small amount of good quality oils. And then in the protein section, it says eat more beans and pulses, eat less meat, especially less processed meat. And so this is where you get some animal food, but let's say even if you ate half of this as animal food, still only, what do you think? About 1/10 of your diet would be animal food. It would be 9/10 plant food. This is what the NHS has been recommending since 2016, the last 8 years, a plant-based diet. So it does seem a little bit incredible that after 40 years of making a very clear connection between eating high animal fat foods and heart disease, that still many people are doing this, and it's still the leading cause of death in modern Western societies. It just, it's like, where are we at? Are we that thick, that it takes so long to put this information into practice? So if everybody followed this NHS Eat Well guide and very similar recommendations from World Health Organization, the rate of heart disease would go down enormously, and also strokes caused by a blockage. Strokes can also be caused by a bleed, which is slightly different cause. So really, incontrovertible evidence that plant-based diet, macrobiotic diet, or something close to it, is really ideal for our heart, and we could, as a society, be enjoying really very low rates of heart disease. Wouldn't that be amazing? And for those women who are watching this, heart disease affects women almost as much as it does men. It's not just a male disease. I know it's often men who really quite addicted to eating meat and high animal food consumption on a regular basis, but women too. And beware of things like cheese. They seem very different to meat, but also high fat, and really contribute, which can really contribute to coronary heart disease and other health problems as well. So that's what to eat for our heart. Of course, moderate exercise is great for the heart and the circulation as well. We don't have to overdo it. It doesn't have to be 10K, 20K. Don't have to push. Just moderate exercise, brisk walking, cycling, whatever you enjoy. Swimming, all is helpful for the heart. It's not necessarily a case of more is better. Also, looking after our heart emotionally and what I'm calling spiritually, which I'll explain in a minute, is also going to really add to your physical heart's health. So let's move on to talking about the heart as on an emotional level. So in common language, and I think most people will feel that we have emotions running through our body. And a lot of these emotions are in the heart. There are emotions in almost every part of the body. In general, emotions more to do with our raw existence tend to be associated, or occur more in the abdomen. The heart is a relational organ. It's where we connect with other people, and we particularly hold emotions which are stimulated in relation to other people. This is where we feel joy. You might say happiness. It's also where we can feel love, connection. And if we're lacking love and connection, we might feel sadness, loneliness, we might feel grief. If we're letting go of someone or an animal or something that has been very dear to our hearts. Interesting, we use the heart as a symbol, and we talk about a symbol for love, and we talk about being full-hearted, downhearted, etc. Which just goes to show that the modern kind of scientific view of how the body functions, which is brilliant in itself, but is only one part of who we are. How is it that we feel love in our hearts? It's a physical pump, just a muscle doing this under electrical stimulation. So there's a lot more to us than just the physical, and this is where we have a lot of feelings. So modern Western society in general tends to be pretty head orientated, especially I think in Northern Europe, I think in Southern Europe. Also I noticed in Ireland, went to Ireland recently for a holiday. Much more heart-centered people, much more caring, much more interested in people rather than getting on, doing things, building money, careers, status, much more heart-centered people. It was so nice. Had so many nice interactions with the Irish on the north and west coast. I think quite similar. I quite often find in Southern Europe as well. Let's be in this part of ourselves. Let's not let the head dominate, and let's feel our feelings. Let's feel the joy and the happiness and the love and the connection. But also let us feel the more uncomfortable emotions of sadness, grief, loneliness, separation, etc. We can't just feel all the positive emotions in life and not feel the negative ones. If we do that, we start living on a rather kind of superficial level. We need to allow ourselves to drop into these uncomfortable emotions as well. And there's always a gift in doing that. You know, realizing how sad we are that we're missing someone. Underneath that is how much we love someone. And if we don't allow ourselves to drop into these emotions, then we may feel depressed, because instead of feeling this upward, joyful energy, there's this heavy downward energy. So we all feel depressed at times. I'm talking more about everyday depression. I'm not talking about really severe depression, which needs some special help. But we all feel depressed at times. If you feel depressed, then there's some heavy feelings there. Let yourself feel the feelings, the sorrow, the fear, whatever it is. Because when we allow ourselves to feel our feelings, they move. That's what emotions want to do. Some people call emotions energy in motion. If we're feeling grief and we're saying, no, I'm not going to feel it. I'm not going to feel it. I'm just going to be happy. I'm just going to get on. I'm just going to be busy. Just get on with my life. What happens? That grief doesn't move. It stays there like a rock. And it will be pulling us down for the rest of our life until we choose to feel it. When we feel it, of course, we have resistance to it because we don't like pain. But one learns with time that pain is all part of life. And actually, it's good to go into pain and find out what it's about, including emotional pain. And then, oh, I feel so much sadness. I miss this person so much. Well, I think I'll get out some photos and I'll remember them. And then we maybe cry. We go through a grieving process, and then we clear some of that emotion and we become lighter and happier, feel more joy, and also feel more connection with other people. If we're holding a lot of heavy emotions here, then there's less of us to connect with someone else. We're just being hidden, buried under these heavy emotions. So great. If you're feeling joy and happiness and so on, fantastic. If you're feeling sad and down, see if you can go in and see what those feelings are. Some things that might help. Talking to a friend or a family member who can really listen, who's not going to try and fix you, who's just going to say, okay, I really hear you. Yeah, that sounds tough. So that we feel heard. That's a connection. And this is a way that we release these heavy emotions. Some people find writing very helpful. Just write down, I'm feeling this, I'm feeling that, and helps get it out. If you feel that you really have a lot of heavy emotions there, then great to find the right emotional counselor or psychotherapist to work with, who's going to sit there and do, hopefully, a really good job of listening to you and prompting you and helping you release some of these heavy emotions. So this is just ongoing work for us human beings. If we ignore it, we don't get happier, we get sadder, and it has an impact on our physical heart as well. It's heavy on the physical heart. Interesting how our emotions can affect the functioning of our hearts. We feel excited, we feel sexually aroused, the heart starts beating faster, we feel more energy here, our circulation is stronger. If we're very downhearted, depressed, heavy, then it depresses the function of the heart. Then we need to make sure that we're really nourishing our hearts. We're social creatures. We need some love. We need some at least a few deeply loving relationships, friendships, partners, family, whoever in our life. So much evidence that if people lack this in their life, they die younger, or some tragic research done in orphanages, I think in Eastern Europe, where children, small children that were fed physically, had all the physical nourishment they needed, but were not given any touch or love, withered and often died, whereas children that were also received a lot of touch and love did much better. So we need love. We need loving connections. So let's take the time to build those loving relationships with people. And the way we get closer to people is by sharing our feelings. Our thoughts, yes, but especially by sharing our feelings with the people that we're close to. This is how we get closer to people, and then there's deeper love. We can also, we're not entirely dependent on other people for love. We can also, this feels like a very trite thing to say, love is everywhere. Makes me feel like a 1960s hippie. But we're going to do a little experiment right now, in which seems to me to prove this. So let's all sit back and get yourself physically comfortable. Put a hand on your heart, and then take a few breaths down in your heart. Come out of your head and sink down into your heart. So let's take some deep breaths through the nose or the mouth. Excuse me. So my stomach relaxing. Let yourself breathe into your heart, drop down into your heart. Feel the breath coming into your chest and into your heart. Enjoy that feeling of breathing into your heart, feeling you're bringing more energy into your heart. And now imagine that with every in-breath, as you're breathing in love, which you're taking into your heart. So let's take long, deep breaths. Taking a deep breath in, breathe in love, and relax. Bring some more love into your heart, and relax. And keep going. You keep going, breathing love into your heart and noticing what's happening in your chest. How does it feel to keep bringing more love into your heart? Free love. So hopefully you're feeling more love in your heart. So let's just pause to feel that. And observe how we not only get love from other people, our pets, from nature, etc. We can also just breathe in more love, because love is everywhere, it's in the air. We can breathe that into our hearts, and how good that feels. So if we're feeling rather unloved and empty, then we can do exactly this. Breathe some love into our heart. Oh, to me, it feels like that's what our hearts want to feel. They want to feel love for ourselves, and also then we have love to give to other people. So let's think about the heart on a more spiritual level. Very interesting in Oriental medicine, they talk about the Shen, residing in the heart. And this is variously translated as consciousness or awareness. If you meditate or go into nature or whatever that allows you to really quieten your mind down and become more mindful, you can experience that your head becomes completely empty of thoughts, and yet you're still aware. Awareness does not come so much from the head, it comes more from the heart. You're just present, observing what's around you, observing thoughts going through your mind sometimes, observing physical sensations, observing emotions. It's our hearts that are watching, observing. So yeah, you can do an experiment to see if you feel that, or maybe we will in a second. And there's a second function of the heart that I want to talk about. So we might say that our soul, our individual spirit, resides in the heart. This is an aspect of Shem. Sometimes in a class, I get people to put their hand up and then get to meditate and breathe into themselves, and then to put a hand where they feel their center, at the center of their being is. 99% of people put their hand here. Hardly anybody puts their hand here. Occasionally people put their hand lower down. Interesting how people don't put their hand on the head. This is where our wise inner self resides. Because I've had experiences of past lives, my own and other people's, I feel that this is where where my soul, our soul resides, that has had many lifetimes, that has memory. How bizarre that we have memory here, not just in the brain or the nervous system. We have an energetic memory that can pass from one lifetime to another, which shows that our memory is not only a physical function of the brain, but is also an energetic thing as well. One day, I don't know if it'll be in my lifetime or not. I hope there'll be a fusion between Western material science and Eastern and traditional energetic understanding of life, and how these two are just two sides of the same thing, and they work absolutely together. What a relief that'll be when humanity has that realization. So we have this energetic memory, and of course, over many lifetimes, we have an enormous number of experiences, and we build up a lot of wisdom. And we also have a sense of purpose. Life isn't random. We've come here, we're on a learning journey, and it's our hearts that can tell us, what experiences we need next. Where do we need to go next in life? I always remember when I was about 10 years old, having to make a decision. I wrote long lists of all the pros and cons of this choice and all the pros and cons of that choice, using my head, and then I still couldn't choose between them, because what part of us makes life choices? Hopefully not our head. It can have a very good influence and give us good information, but we make life choices from here. I want to be with this person. How do we choose the person we want to be with in a relationship? It's not a checkbox thing. We might use that as well, but in the end, it's a feeling. What path do I want to follow? What work do I want to do? How do I want to express myself in my life? Where do I want to live? What do I want to study? These kind of life decisions that we make with our hearts. So let's do a practical exercise again. So again, it might be good to shut your eyes so you can really focus inside. Put a hand on your heart, and let's take some breaths into our heart again. If you want to breathe in love, that's fine, or just breathe in energy so your heart becomes more activated. So let's take a long breath in. And relax on the out breath. Long breath in, bring lots of love, ki, energy in. Relax. And keep going. Nice deep breaths. With each in breath, bring more energy, more love into your heart. If you catch thoughts coming, just release them. Come back to being in your heart. And hopefully it feels good to bring energy into your heart. If there's some heavy, uncomfortable feelings, it may make you more aware of those, which may not feel so good. But just keep breathing, because at some point those will move. As you breathe in, feel how this is the center of your being. Your deep self, your inner self. And in a minute, we're going to all ask ourselves, ask our hearts a question, or several questions. So just keep breathing into your heart while I speak. And the trick is not to go back into your head, but stay focused in your heart. And to listen for the answer, which may come very quickly, or it may take a little time. It takes a little time. Don't give up. Focus on your heart. Wait for the answer to come. Let's ask our hearts, what what can I do today that would bring lots of joy to my heart? What can I do today that would bring a lot of joy to my heart? And make a mental note of the answer so that you remember it. A few more breaths into the heart. Next question. What am I doing in my life that feels it's really killing my heart? What am I doing in my life that feels like it's really killing my heart? It's really bad for my heart. Yeah, and make a mental note so you remember it. Third question. In my heart, what is the most important thing I want to do or achieve in the next few months? What is the most important thing I want to achieve in the next few months? And make a mental note of the answer so you remember it. Couple more breaths into the heart. And then relax. And when you're ready, open your eyes. If you want to write down the 3 answers, you could do that. First question, what would bring me a lot of joy today? A good question to ask yourself every morning. Second question, what am I doing in my life that feels like it's really killing my heart? It's really harming my heart, painful in my heart. Good to get clearer on what we need to be doing less of in our lives or leaving behind. And third question, what is the most important thing I want to achieve or to do in the next few months? Using our heart as a guide. So these are just 3 questions which I chose today to hopefully get you in touch with your heart and see how you can get really good answers from your heart. This is just amazing that we have this inner guide that often we don't think about consulting. We think we've got to think about things, we've got to ask other people, we've got to read books, all of which can be good. But so often the answer is very simple. We just have to ask our hearts. And if you like this process, I hope you do, then please practice it every day, maybe before you get out of bed in the morning, when you first wake up, or at some other time when you can have 5 minutes quiet time. Really, our hearts can become so much the guide to our life. And this will bring much more emotional joy and happiness if we're on the, if we're wanting to learn these things and go in this direction within ourselves. But for some reason we're on this path, that is going to create real unhappiness and tearing and sadness and feeling we betrayed ourselves, etc., etc. Also, if we're really following our hearts, which is not always easy, I have to grant, sometimes it says, I need to move, I need to change my job, I need to change my partner, I need to go and do something completely different. I need, so it's not always easy. But I pretty much guarantee you that the more you follow your heart, not only will you feel more joy in your life, more connection, more love for other people, and also this nourishes the physical heart. It really helps the health of the heart. So there we go, a holistic look at the heart, how we can help our hearts physically, emotionally, and spiritually. I hope you found that useful. Please do practice all these things, plant-based eating, loving ourselves, processing, releasing our emotions, and consulting your inner guide as the guide to your life. I mean, who else? Who else knows what we should be doing other than ourselves? And the way we find out is by going into ourselves and asking our hearts, asking our deep inner self. Okay, thank you very much for listening, and I wish you well.